Alright guys, so we've got Stewart here, and what we're going to do, Stewart is obviously you're standing in position, legs up and down, get nice and relaxed. Okay, so what we're going to do is your static postural assessment. Okay, so how you feel? Relaxed?
Yep.
Alright. Now what you're going to see, guys, we'll start off at the bottom, and what we can see is Stewart's feet are pronated, so what that means is that they're quite flat, which in turn is bringing his knees inwards, which is knock knee or valgus knee, which also brings in his hips. And in turn, you can actually see with Stewart here, if you look at his ASIS symmetry, you can actually see through the hip bones. Right, if I touch it there, Stewart?
Yep.
Yeah. That this side of the hip is actually on an angle to the right, so he's actually dipping to one side. And also that's relevant as well in his shoulders. So if you look straight on, you can see that shoulder is slightly down. And the way you can tell that is, well, his hand is rotated slightly in. Okay, so his shoulders should be further back. His head, where he's in position, is straight forward. So what we can see as well when we go back down to the bottom here is if we turn Stewart's tibia out like that, his feet roll away, and you get more supination in his foot, in which case you can see that turn is relevant. Alright, as you can see guys, now we're at the posterior view, and we can actually see from the bottom here, starting at the bottom, Stewart's ankles are everted, so they're pointing out. You can see the knees are slightly turning in, and you can actually see on the right hand side here that his hip complex is tilting to the right. As we come up, you can also see that shoulder that we're talking about on the right hand side there is actually lower than the left hand side, so there's a bit of a deviation in the shoulder there. Alright, now we've got the left hand lateral view of Stewart, and what we're going to do is we're going to start with the bottom. We'll work our way from the lateral malleolus, so the little bone here. And what I'll get you to do, Stewart, is just get you to step slightly forward. There we go. Okay, now what we can see is Stewart's ankle is slightly in dorsiflexion. Okay, and he's actually got, his knees are quite, not hyperextended, but they're not quite bent at the knee. And you can actually, if I can touch it there, Stewart, you can actually move Stewart's patella quite easily. So he's got a bit of, I guess, hyperextension in his knee. As we come up, you get your hands by your side, Stewart. You can actually see there's a slight lordosis in the lower back, but not a great deal. His shoulder is in line, and his head is slightly forward. As you can see, his ear is slightly moved forward from the plumb line. Okay, so there's a bit of a head, forward head motion there. Alright, now we're going to take a look at the right side of Stewart's lateral view. Okay, and as you can see, we're back at the lateral malleolus, so back in line. We've got the plumb line there. Everything's very similar, but what we can see is that this shoulder here, opposed to the other side, is slightly more forward. So that actually shows us that Stewart has that right shoulder deviation. Alright guys, now we're going to go through some dynamic postural assessment with Stewart. And Stewart, what we're going to get you to do is we're going to get you to step forward, and then step back, and then switch legs, step forward, and step back. Step forward, step back. And as you can see, when Stewart's doing this motion, step back, he's getting a medial deviation of the knee, so the knee kind of drives in, as well as what happens is his hips will do the same. Okay? And when he steps forward, his feet slightly pronate inwards. And if we do it from the side view, Stewart, step forward. Forward. Okay, so it's good he's getting his heel on the stance foot, facing foot forward, but when he's stepping on the back, his heel is lifting off the ground. Alright, what we're going to do now, Stuart, is we're going to do test out your hip complex, and we're going to get you to do a lateral step. So it's kind of what you do is step to the side, okay, legs together, and we're going to step to the other side. Awesome. So what you can see, guys, is keep going, Stuart. Stuart's hips aren't actually stacking over his knee. Okay, so do the other side. And we're getting his trunk doing a lot of the motion. So his excessive flexion of his trunk. So go to the other side, Stuart. Yeah. Alright, now we're going to test out Stuart's thoracic spine, and we're going to do a transverse step and reach. So what we're going to do, Stuart, is when you walk to the side, I'm going to get you step slightly back, and I want you to turn, and almost like you're grabbing something behind you, okay? Perfect. Now, as you can see here, when Stuart's doing that, his spine has got poor lateral flexors. There's not a lot of movement up the top here, and also his stance leg is not straight, so it's kind of bending.